During the 16 Days of Action 2022 campaign,
Girls on Fire and Tech Shack Tactical TV interview ordinary but outstanding women.
Hashtag I am every woman.
In our interviews, we honor outstanding businesswomen who have made a difference in their specific sphere of society to ladies who have overcome horrific gender-based violence incidences.
We believe in action, not activism.
Why are women continually cast as helpless victims?
Bystanders to their own fate, presuming that victimhood is a fait accompli. We are not simply deer in the headlights of gender-based violence.
We can and will stand up for ourselves.
We are not second-class citizens who need special days and men standing up for us.
We say no more.
Activism does not change the minds of predators.
Predators will always be predators, waiting in the dark to claim their victims. Standing on street corners with placards saying that we are against gender-based violence has and never alone make a difference. Take action now, not to be a victim, and be a strong woman. Do not put your trust in anybody else except yourself. Take the example from the strong women in these interviews and be a warrior. Hashtag victim no longer.
Lynette Oxley here for Tech Shack Tactical TV and Girls on Fire for the 16 Days of Action for No Violence Against Women and Children. I'm here with Jennifer Richardson. Welcome and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Lynette. Good to be here.
Tell us, you're an insurance broker specifically working in and around cyberbullying. Can you just give us a bit of background on yourself?
Okay, so my name's Jennifer Richardson and I've been with Scotsman Insurance Brokers for 5 years. We're owned by the Halfway Group. I've been with the Halfway Group for the last 10 years. So predominantly a insurance brokerage background for the last 5 years. And we partner with Hollard, and Hollard have got a product called i2, which focuses specifically on cyber liability. And it's something that I've been quite heavily focused on for the last couple of years. And I just feel that people don't know enough about what's available to help them when it comes to getting harmful content off the internet. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Now, I've seen quite a couple of cases during this time that I've spoken to some victims that cyberbullying and internet crimes are definitely on the increase. Can you give us a definition of what is cyberbullying and why, according to Ipsos, South Africa has one of the highest rates of cyberbullying? Sorry about that, falling over my words.
No problem. Yeah, so Ipsos is a leading market research company that basically does research on various things. And when they ran a case study around cyberbullying, they realized that 25% of parents in South Africa have reported cases of cyberbullying against their children. So that's an alarming stat in itself. And we also have a very high rate of teenage suicide between the ages of 15 and 19. And the biggest problem is that parents don't even realize that there's a problem until it's too late. Children are victimized to a point where they actually feel that there's a problem with them, so they're not speaking out. And I think this has created a culture where bullying becomes mass bullying. So a child will decide to pick on another child and then start posting it and sharing it with friends, and people think it's funny, but they don't realize the harm that they're doing to the person that's actually on the receiving end of the bullying. And I think something that parents need to start doing is actually be completely aware of your children's behavior. And if there are changes in their behavior, you need to look out for them, because you can actually step in. A child thinks that something is so huge at the age of 13. And, to step away from that and take them away from the situation and just explain to them what the problem is with the person that's actually the perpetrator, and that they're at fault and not you. And then also be able to be in a situation where you can actually remove harmful content, have the funds available to do that, and also have the tech support that will actually pull that information off the internet so that it stops there,
So the red flags that parents can look out for, how would they notice that their child is actually being cyberbullied? What is the first
Children,
signs?
generally, kids withdraw, so they become very quiet. They become they're antisocial. They'll maybe not want to go to school. So when your child starts sort of saying that they're sick on a regular basis, you must understand that they're not wanting to go to school for a reason. So there's something's up, so to look out for that kind of behavior. And I think that something else that parents aren't doing that need to be doing is actually educating your children on what is appropriate behavior on the internet. How do you speak to people? How do you conduct yourself? What do you share? What don't you share? A cheeky little picture of yourself in your lingerie could end up on the World Wide Web, and you've just sent it to maybe your boyfriend, but you could break up in 3 months' time, and it could be an ugly breakup, and he could become malicious. So, those kind of scenarios are happening every day, all the time. And, if the information's out there, people can use it against you. So be smart, be aware, and, don't put yourself in the firing line.
I'm actually going to call this, I can never get that photo back, because we're going to speak a little bit in a while about Amanda, is it Todd, am I correct?
Amanda Todd, yes.
And if you put something out there, it's never gone. It's
well, that's
always
what people
out there.
think. Yeah, that's what people think. But, if you've got the right expertise available at your fingertips, you can actually get that harmful post or that nasty slur taken off the internet. So it can actually be scrubbed. There are means and ways.
I've spoken earlier in this campaign to Charlotte Laws from the Most Hated Man on the Internet, and that was also a case. Her daughter's it was a email account was hacked, and he got some naked photos of her daughter. And they had a massive fight to actually try and get it out. The only way they could get it off initially was by claiming copyright. Ultimately, it was taken off by the FBI, but the only way they could actually get this guy is via because he illegally hacked some accounts. So is it that easy in South Africa to actually remove it and have it removed forever? Because that was one of the problems.
Yeah, I think if you don't know where the source is, and these guys are really clever, the perpetrator that acted against Amanda Todd, his name's Aidan Coburn, he actually had 22 fake social media accounts. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and it is costly. So you would need to hire tech kind of people, but obviously if you don't know the source and you don't know where it's coming from, then it is near impossible. So that's why it is so important to understand the risks that lie with sharing information or pictures of yourself to people. It's just, it can end up out there on the World Wide Web. So prevention is far better than cure.
Yeah. Before we go on to Amanda Todd's story in a little bit more detail, what types of internet facilitated crimes is out there? What are we talking? Child pornography?
Yeah, so possession, distribution, and production of child pornography, sexual solicitation against minors. You also just get general stalkers. I mean, people that can jump onto your Facebook and actually take control of it and start sending out really weird content to your entire friend list without you even realizing it. There's also conspiracy crimes. So you could end up in on the dark web where there are syndicates of people that share information and share content and photographs and videos. So, and there's a market for that. And all that needs to happen is that your video ends up, or your child's video ends up in one of those syndicates, and they decide that they want the real life version, and that's where kids get snatched, and it's frightening what happens. So, just the characteristics as well. I mean, if you look at the stats, online sexual offenders 1 in 8 are inclined to be contact offenders. So that means that they're not just keyboard criminals. They have at some point in their lives actually either been a sexual offender, a contact sexual offender, or a pedophile. So we're dealing with really scary people, and these are the people that are making contact with children on platforms like webcam. And your kids don't have the acumen at the age of 13 or 12 to know or read whether this is a sexual offender or a friend that is posing to be someone their age.
It's really scary if you actually think about when I grew up, totally different situation.
We were climbing trees.
We were climbing trees, exactly. Tell us the very sad story about Amanda Todd. It's I just quickly read up about it, and I will also share the video that you shared with us on the YouTube video that will come up, that's been made for this as well.
So she was 15 years old when she made that video, and it was about 5 weeks before she committed suicide. She is a young girl from Canada that was targeted in 2009. It started by a guy called Aiden Coben, a 44-year-old guy from Netherlands, and he basically stalked young girls on webcam. So young girls would go onto webcam and they'd do singing acts and dancing acts. And Amanda Todd had an account, and she used to chat with her friends online, and they used to meet other people and generally spoke to people they thought were the same age as them. And she, Aiden Coben, befriended her. And after about 6 months or 8 months, he asked her to show her picture of her breasts, and she did so. And he then posted the pictures all over the internet, and then got hold of her on Facebook and really started to make her life an absolute misery. And this poor child actually went into depression. She started taking drugs and started drinking alcohol. And her parents tried to move her, so they moved her from one school to another. She got a whole new group of friends, and lo and behold, he actually started a Facebook page and used her picture of her breast as his profile picture. So he was just actually now stalking her, and his goal was to make her life an absolute misery. And he actually got it right. She first attempted suicide with tablets and ended up in hospital. She nearly died. She was in hospital for 4 days, had to have her stomach pumped. Then it carried on. She came out of hospital. She changed schools again, and he found her again, and then she tried to kill herself by drinking bleach. And and this went on for 3 years. So he actually stalked her for 3 years. She was victimized by people at school. She was victimized by boys. They started treating her really badly because they believed that she was in the wrong. Eventually she did that video, which is the link that I've sent you, where she didn't show her face. She just wrote little key cards of everything that was going on in her life, and she just pulled these key cards and let you read them. And it's heart-wrenching because she was crying out for help, and she didn't know who to turn to, and her parents didn't know who to turn to, and they didn't know how to stop it. And she eventually hung herself, and Aiden Coben was then he was convicted in a Dutch court for 11 years because he had done the same thing to about 12 different women, young girls, victimized them, made their lives misery, made them out to be terrible human beings when actually he was the disgusting human being. And then after that, he was extradited to Canada, where he was sentenced to an additional 13 years. So, these keyboard criminals need to understand that there are people out there that are going to fight you and come after you. And so, Aiden Coben is spending he was convicted in 2015. So he's going to be in prison for the next 24 years of his life. And it's just so sad that a young girl who was 13 years old when it started happening isn't here anymore. And it can happen to anyone. Absolutely. It really is devastating and harmful.
It's a quite a heavy sentence because, which is absolutely great because in a lot of other cases that I've spoken to, the people got off very lightly, let's putting it mildly, very, very lightly, if they got a conviction at all. So that is really positive.
Yeah. So when passing down the sentence in the British court, they said that even though he wasn't physically involved in her murder or her death, he didn't murder her, for instance, but he actually was the fundamental reason for her depression and her alcohol and drug abuse, and ultimately her suicide.
Well, that's something good at least, but absolutely horrific story.
Yeah.
Why do people, young kids, her peers, they actually also contributed quite a lot to what happened to her because she was ostracized from her friends. Why are kids doing stuff? I suppose there will always be bullies, and it's a form of bullying.
Absolutely, and I think that goes back to us as parents, the adults, educating our children, making them aware of what is acceptable behavior and what's not acceptable behavior. And also as parents, being vigilant and being aware of what's going on, and teachers, I know that a lot of pressure is placed on teachers and headmasters and schools today, because I think that our children spend so much time at school and, they're there during the day, they're there in the afternoons doing sport. So us as parents, we only really see our kids in the evening, and they're behind their locked doors, and you think that maybe they're doing their homework or they're studying. Maybe they're just hiding away, because they are dealing with what they're dealing with on a daily basis. And I think a young person would become vulnerable and desperate and embarrassed. So they don't speak out. They're constantly told that they're stupid or that they're useless or that they're ugly or that they're fat or that they aren't sporty or whatever. We don't know what they're dealing with, but eventually they start to believe it themselves, especially if a lot of kids are all jumping on the bandwagon. So I think we need to really just talk to our kids and understand what's going on in their lives and look out for that change in behavior, and maybe then be able to pick up these signals,
the red
flags before something bad happens. And also to educate ourselves, I think that a lot of people, I've heard so many people say, oh, when we were kids, if you had a problem at school, you dealt with it. But the demographic has changed in such a dramatic way. They reckon that by 2025, there are going to be 75 billion smart devices on planet Earth. So that's 75 billion gateways to access information that maybe you don't want your children to be accessing, or people getting in touch with your kids that wouldn't, 25 years ago, wouldn't have that opportunity. They would have to walk the streets and find a vulnerable kid. Now there's millions of them on the internet.
It's made it much easier for the predators to actually predate.
Absolutely.
If you've got a message out there for parents and young women that listens to this program, what would you say to them?
I just think that and that's why I'm speaking out about the cyber liability insurance that is available, is I think one of the ways that we're going to curb and stop these crimes from happening is by fighting back, and by fighting back with legal defense, by fighting back and having tech support to get harmful content off the internet, and also to take action, to take civil people must have liability cases against them for committing crimes. And parents out there need to know that this cover is available, and it's not expensive. Domestic cover for a family of 4, you can take out the whole hog for 125 Rand a month, and that cover will cover you against theft of funds, it will cover you against identity theft, data restoration, cyber extortion, cyberbullying, privacy breach and data breach liability, and also privacy breach and data breach by third parties. So there is cover out there, and then you've also got cover that can protect you. So if your child does need counseling, because I think that's another thing that maybe we as human beings feel that, we are resilient and we'll bounce back. But I don't think kids bounce back as easily. And I think if they can go for counseling, and it is expensive, if you've got a policy that can enable your child to have some counseling, that would be unbelievable. And then also the cost of, like, if you feel that your child needs to move schools or needs a change in their lives, these policies actually cover that as well. So you can do a mid-year change, even though you're going to have to buy new uniforms and get new textbooks. And those are expensive. Those are very expensive costs to incur. So you have a policy that can help you with that as well. I think this makes it that much easier to make the transitions.
So how often is this used? How many people in South Africa claim on those policies? Often?
It's becoming widely spread to the point now where companies are actually looking at selling laptops with cybersecurity on the laptops, as well as a policy linking to that. So you switch on your computer and it takes you through a tutorial of what you've actually got on your computer. I mean, today so many people buy new cell phones or new laptops and they don't even know what's on them. So these bundles are being included on computers from the date that you purchase them, and actually having a tutorial saying, this is what you've got, this is what it's for, this is how you use it. And if push comes to shove and you need to do a claim, then you've got the insurance policy which covers boom, 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 boom. And I think it's a step in the right direction. I think this has become a global phenomenon, and I think it's a problem that everyone is realizing is not just a case of a child getting bullied at school. This is and the stats are frightening. When you think about 20% of children are actually between the ages of 15 and 19 are actually considering suicide now. Those are alarming stats. That's frightening. And that's a worldwide stat.
Yeah, it's not just South Africa.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for talking to us. I will put your details at the end of the video as well in the comment section. But thank you very much for making the time and speaking to us. If anybody's got any questions, I can forward them to you as well. And as I said, I will leave your contact details as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Ines. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for speaking to me.
It's a pleasure.
Cheers.
Have a great day.
You too. Cheers.
I'm a girl on fire. I'm not a victim. A girl on fire. I'll stand my ground. Girl on fire. I've made a choice. I stand proud. I'm a girl on fire. I'm a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend. I'm every woman. I have taken up arms and I choose to defend all that I hold dear. Independent and strong, you will not keep me down. You can't break me. I'm a girl on fire. I'm not a victim. A girl on fire. I'll stand my ground. Girl on fire. I've made a choice. I stand proud. I'm a girl on fire. Countless hours on the range, I am responsibly armed. I am your equal. I've empowered myself. I have practiced and trained. Fear won't control me. With my sisters in arms, we will make ourselves heard. We'll stand together. I'm a girl